All right, let's get right into it. Today, we're talking about something that's way more important than you might think. Your driveway. Seriously, it's the very first thing people see. Kind of like the handshake of your home. So we're going to walk through everything you need to know about masonry driveways to make sure that first impression is absolutely fantastic. You know, I've always liked this quote. The road to success is always under construction. It's such a great way to think about things, right? That improving and building are constant. Not just in life, but with our homes, too. It really gets you in the right mindset for a project like this. And that really brings it home, doesn't it? Literally. The road to your home, your driveway, is your own personal construction project. It's a huge opportunity to make a statement and totally change the vibe of your property. So let's talk about how to do it right. So first things first, why even go with masonry? Why are so many people, especially in places with wild weather swings like New Jersey, choosing this route? Well, it really boils down to this awesome mix of toughness, adding value, and just looking incredible. This isn't just about pouring some asphalt. This is about building a first impression that is truly built to last. And here are the big reasons why. What's cool is how all these points feed into each other. You get that amazing curb appeal, which, guess what, boosts your property value. You get something that's super durable and can look 100 different ways. And maybe most importantly, it can handle those scorching summers and freezing winters without falling apart. It's a really smart, long-term play. Okay, so you're on board with masonry. Great. But now for the fun part. What kind? This is where you really get to stamp your personality on your home's entrance. Are you a classic brick person? Or maybe more of a rustic, natural stone type? Each one has its own vibe, so let's see how they compare. All right, think of this chart as your command center for making a decision. You can see the trade-offs immediately. Concrete, definitely the easiest on the wallet. Stone, that's the heavyweight champion of durability with that beautiful, natural look. Brick gives you that timeless classic feel, and pavers, well, pavers offer a ton of different styles. The real trick here is figuring out the sweet spot between the look you're dreaming of, what your budget can handle, and how much upkeep you're willing to do down the road. And that's really the bottom line. There's no single best choice for everyone. The perfect material for you is the one that just clicks. It has to fit your budget, your lifestyle, and, this is a big one, the style of your house. You could pick the most beautiful stone in the world, but if it clashes with your home's architecture, it's just going to look off. So make sure your choice complements your home, whether it's an old colonial or a super modern design. Now, I get it. The idea of a big construction project can feel a little overwhelming. But a professional installation is actually a super organized, step-by-step process. So let's pull back the curtain and see exactly how a patch of dirt gets turned into a stunning new driveway. Any good pro will follow these 4 main steps. First, they've got to dig out the old stuff and get the ground perfectly graded. Second, and this is so important, they lay down a solid base. That's the foundation that keeps everything stable for years. Then comes the artistic part, laying the bricks or stones in the pattern you chose. And finally, they fill in all the joints and compact the whole surface so it's smooth and locked in. It's this methodical approach that makes sure your driveway is not just pretty, but truly built to last. Okay, let's talk about the thing everyone wants to know about, the money. Budgeting for a project this big is obviously a huge deal, and you need to know what actually goes into that final price tag. This chart makes it really easy to see the cost differences we talked about earlier. Concrete is clearly the most budget-friendly option per square foot. Pavers are kind of in that big middle zone. The price can really vary depending on the style you pick. And then you've got natural stone, which is the premium choice, up at the high end of the scale. And don't forget, the materials are just one part of the equation. It's pretty simple. A bigger driveway is going to cost more. And if you want to get fancy with, say, a herringbone pattern or some intricate borders, that's going to add to the labor cost and the final bill too. So, what does that all shake out to? Well, for a pretty standard 2-car driveway in a place like New Jersey, you're likely looking at a range somewhere between $5,000 and $20,000, maybe even more. This gives you a realistic ballpark figure to start with, so when you start talking to contractors, you're already in the know. So the crew is packed up, your new driveway is done, and it looks incredible. Now what? Well, now comes the easy part that makes all the difference. Maintenance. Taking care of your driveway is how you protect that investment and keep it looking brand new for years and years. Think of this as your long-term care guide. You'd be surprised how much a simple sweeping or a washdown can do. If you went with brick or concrete, sealing it every few years is a must. And here is a major pro tip.
Try to avoid using those harsh de-icing salts on concrete in the winter. They can cause the surface to get all pitted and fleeky. It's called spalling, and that is a real headache to fix. Just stay on top of the little things, and they'll never turn into big, expensive problems.
And here is the reward for all of that simple care. When you hear that masonry is long-lasting, this is what we're talking about. A well-maintained brick or stone driveway can seriously last for half a century, maybe even longer. That is just an incredible return on your investment. Okay, we've gone through materials, the installation, the costs, the maintenance, but honestly, none of that matters if you don't have the right team doing the work. Choosing your contractor is, without a doubt, the single most important decision you will make in this entire process.
And to pick the right person, you have to ask the right questions. Think about it like a job interview, because that's exactly what it is. You're the boss, and you need to make sure you're hiring a true pro who is qualified and trustworthy. So, what do you need to ask?
This right here, this is your interview script. Ask them about their experience, have them walk you through their installation process, make sure it sounds like the one we just talked about. Asking if they're licensed and insured is a non-negotiable. That's what protects you. Always ask for local references you can actually call and get the details on their warranty. And most importantly, get a detailed quote in writing so there are no surprises later. And that brings us right back to where we started. Your driveway is so much more than a place to park. It's the welcome mat to your home. It's the first chapter of your property's story. So, now that you know the options, the process, and the costs, the only question left is, what story are you going to tell?